it's one of those things where you think like I moved out of the city into the suburbs, and I thought, take a breath and take a break and come back to this thought. Hello, and welcome back to the Growing Wild Studios YouTube channel. My name is Cindy, and I'm the maker over here on this channel. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit more about my experience on this year's Greater Philly Yarn Crawl. This year, it was held from March 13th through the 16th. It's its second year. Last year, 2024, was the inaugural year. I did not hear about it in time for last year, so I put it on my calendar, made sure I was aware of it, and I was really excited to participate. I'm going to talk about, kind of in 3 different sections today.
Hello, this is Editing Cindy. As I was putting together the video, it became very apparent to me that putting all 3 of these sections into one video was going to be way too long, and I don't think you guys want to watch a 1-hour long video. I don't want to edit one yet. So we're going to break this down into 2 videos. First one that you're watching right now, we'll talk about the first 2 sections, and then I'll talk about, what I acquired, all the fun yarn in the second video coming out next. Thank you so much, and chat soon.
I'm going to talk, a little bit about statistics about the yarn crawl, what you might be able to expect next year, though, they're always taking feedback and things are changing. Let you know, what I experienced this year. Then I'm going to talk, about what my experience was. I did attend all 18 shops, and I got something out of the experience that I wasn't expecting. So I'm excited to talk about that. And then finally, I'm going to end off with, of course, all the beautiful, fun additions I now have to, my Yarny stash, to other yarn related pieces of equipment that I now have that I've been looking for. And of course, have a little bit of fun with that. All right, so let's dive right on in. All right, so jumping right in, before the crawl happened, they did ask that all participants register beforehand. And really that was just to make sure that if anyone won any prizes, that they were able to get in contact with them. They did have 3 different options available for registration, the first of which being totally free. All you had to do was put in your name and your email address, and they emailed you a PDF copy of this year's passport. So here is the passport. I did not get the free option because I got a nice printed one. I'll talk about this in a moment. It had the lovely logo on the very front. It's printed on nice, beautiful paper, very sturdy for going to many different places over the course of the weekend. And then they also had all of the shops listed in the middle, so that way, whenever you went in, you would receive a sticker stating that, hello, I was at the shop. And, it makes, a nice, lovely little rainbow in the end, which was very nice to me when I figured that out. I was in the middle of driving to one of the jobs. I was like so excited for this little sticker rainbow. But really, that's mainly what it included, as well as, some instructions on how to enter the raffle, as well as a map of the whole crawl. I'll open it up here. Boop, and it just had a little spot for all of the places on the map and all of the names. Going backwards, looking in the viewfinder is very different. But it was great. That's the free option where you would receive a PDF of the passport and you were able to print it at home. If you wanted to print it, at a special print shop, you were able to as well. Second option was a $5 option, which was literally just the passport itself printed just like this on the nice, beautiful cardstock. And you were able to go and pick it up at, whichever shop that was participating that you wanted. And then the final option, I believe, was either $20 or $25. This was the option I went for, simply because it was my first time and I wanted to get the second option, or I wanted to get the option that had the fun bag with it, basically. So I'm going to hold it up for you. I'm going to lean back and show cover my face just because it's a little big. So this is this year's bag. It's so beautiful. Again, has the beautiful logo on it. I just thought it was really beautiful. It's a nice tote bag, very big. The ones that I saw from last year were a little smaller, a little bit narrower. But I really like this one. It was great all weekend long. I used it to go to all of the shops. Do I think I'm going to get it again next year if I participate? I don't think so. I don't need a bag every year, but it was nice to have one from my very first year. Getting into some more specifics about the crawl itself, this year had 18 different shops ranging from South Philadelphia all the way out to Phoenixville, and then out past Peddler's Village, if you know where that is. 18 shops participating across, areas from knitting, crochet, sewing, weaving, and mending, which I was really excited to see. There were a lot of shops that had, either secondhand fibers. There was a shop, Weaver's House, that had, yarn made out of paper, yarn made out of reclaimed fiber. Thought that was beautiful. And then to be also using it and being encouraged to use it for, mending your own clothes, mending the things that you've made, either crochet, weaving, etc., or any other clothes just like this that you might have that might need some mending done. That was really exciting to see at a few of the shops this year. All of the shops had free patterns available to all registered participants of the crawl. There were many, featuring knit and crochet, lots of scarves, a little bit of different things from across the different shops, as well as, some dedicated weaving patterns, which was great to see from the shops that, were dedicated to weaving. I did get a kit for that. I will show it later, as well as the pattern that went with that. I'm very excited to work on that. Also, some of the shops had, exclusive colorways that went with those patterns, or they just had, exclusive colorways either for the shop specifically that they, have year round, or they had exclusive colorways, especially for the crawl. Again, I will talk a little bit about those later because I got many of those. But overall, really was just a showcase of everything the shops had to offer. I really was happy that they called it, a yarn crawl rather than, a knit crawl, crochet crawl, whatever, you might say that's, most specific to knit or crochet. Because there were a lot of different fiber arts represented. I really love to see the weaving. I love to see the different sewing and mending practices that were there and really encouraged by different shops. So that was, very exciting. I'm loving seeing, this movement of we're all fiber artists. We don't just have to be knit or crochet. We're fiber artists, and seeing us all really, love and respect and celebrate each other. So I was really happy that all the different sorts of fiber arts that I mentioned were included and represented on this crawl. Some of the shops also had pop-ups from different artists over the course of the weekend on different days. I saw someone who only dyed both clothing and fiber with only natural dyes, which was really exciting to see. There were also a couple of different jewelry makers over the course of the weekend that I saw at various shops, as well as an artist that, loved the national parks and made art based on that, which was really exciting to see. Not directly related to, fiber arts, but something a little bit different and something excited. I'm always excited to see different forms of artists. I love prints. There's so many prints, so many gallery walls throughout our apartment. So it was really excited to see, that type of art represented as well. So did I get to all of the shops on the crawl? I am really happy to report that I did. When I was making my, my itinerary for each of the days, going through how to get there, what, transportation I was going to use, there were 2 shops that I wasn't really sure I was going to get to. It was kind of I might have time on some of the days, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to be able to type of situation. And I kind of had, accepted I was going to get to 16 and not 18. But through some serendipitous, plans that, I had and timing and placement kind of just worked out, I was able to get to all 18 of the shops this year. I was really proud of that. I know it, has to come down to, the timing and sorts, but this was a really great experience, and I was happy that I was able to get to all of them because I had such a fantastic experience at the last shop. And I was really glad I was able to do it. I had a little bit of a different experience than I was expecting when I went into the weekend. I went into the weekend thinking that this video was going to be a lot of showcasing the different shops and the beautiful and amazing things that they do. And I did film some of that type of video, but really over the course of the weekend, it became very clear to me that I was having a different experience than, going in and seeing the shops and, being happy to see the shops. I really got a sense of community out of it. So I, of course, like I said before, my mother and my grandmother and all sorts of other people have welcomed me into, the crafty, the fiber art community. But really, since I don't live with my mother anymore and my grandmother has passed on, I am mostly online when it comes to, connecting with other people in the yarn, the craft community. And of course, I love those people. I've loved being a part of this community, and I'm not, taking, myself out of it for any reason going forward. But it was just so nice to be at an event where, there were so many people who loved the same things that I did or loved things similarly and related to what I like to do. And just, be excited about it and be out there together on this experience was so fun, so enlightening. Of course, as I'm sure many other people did, I wore one of the items that I've made. I have a crochet cowl that I made that I wore on Saturday into the city. And there was someone who stopped me and said, "Oh my God, it's you." And I had no idea what they were talking about. But they said, "My friends and I saw you on the train and we loved your cowl. We wanted to sell you that." And which was so exciting. Of course, like I always love it when my husband and my friends always say it, but to have someone, a stranger out there who was also on the crawl stop and say, "I thought, what you made was so beautiful," was a really beautiful experience. It was, also really great to just see how many shops are within a 40-minute drive or within easy public transportation of me. Since moving to the suburbs, it's kind of, I would say I've resigned myself a little bit to thinking like I don't have quite as much access to what I did living in the city. And this weekend really proved me wrong, which I was so happy to see. It was really great to see that there are now two very local yarn shops that I can go to for stitch nights. I'm very excited to be on their newsletters and to get out to them at some point. And it was just great to see, the breadth of the fiber arts community that is really represented in what is really my local area. Philly is still part of my home. It's still part of a place that I love. And all of the shops in the city are just as much as part of my local community as they were before. So I was really excited to see all of those different shops, to see the breadth of what is out there, and to remind myself that they are still very accessible to me. I also saw a lot of new to me yarns on the crawl, including Malabrigo, which, as I'm saying, I know a lot of you probably know this name and might be a little shocked that I've never seen it out in the wild before. But it was really exciting to see. So I listen to a lot of knitters on YouTube, and sometimes when a knitter recommends a yarn or talks about a yarn a lot, I expect that they're talking about hand dyed yarn, just because a lot of the knitters that I know work with a lot of hand dyed yarn. A lot of the crocheters work with more budget friendly yarn simply because crochet uses up more yarn. So I had heard Malabrigo come out of a lot of knitters' mouths, but not crocheters. So I'd kind of, seen it as, maybe a higher end yarn that, had a really great fiber content, maybe was really luxurious and obviously worth the money to spend on it, but was maybe not within my budget. And I was very gladly proved wrong. I saw Malabrigo for the first time even on Thursday, and immediately I was shocked because the colors are so beautiful, the dyeing is so beautiful. And the impression I got out of it was that it's kind of a midway between what you might get at a Michael's, a Hobby Lobby, Joanne, and the small dyers who are hand dyeing pan by pan and stuff like that. So kind of like a middle ground where, yes, it might be how do I want to describe this? Where the fiber content is delicious and beautiful, but it's like I've been saying, it's in the middle. So I saw so much Malabrigo over the course of the weekend. I bought one skein of it. I bought it at one of the first stores I was at on Thursday. But at that store, I saw the most beautiful color. It is a Matisse color. It's a cobalt blue. I'll pop it up on screen here for you. And I am inspired to make a sweater in this beautiful cobalt blue. I only saw it at the shop, so I really, really hope that Malabrigo still makes it and I can order it from the shop. But I fell in love with this color, and if they don't, they have something similar, and I'll make it do. But it's so beautiful. I'm in my wardrobe, I'm very much trying to get into more color. She said, well, she's wearing a very black sweater today. But it's springtime, and I'm excited to explore those springtime colors. And this blue was so beautiful. I know I'm rambling on about it, but I'm very excited about my blue sweater that will happen sometime this year. I was also so inspired walking into the shops that had fabric and, sewing supplies, sewing machines in their stores and really celebrated sewing and quilting in all of its forms. I think I mentioned before, my grandma taught me how to sew, and walking into the first shop that offered it, um, if anything, she would be so happy. I'm tearing up a little. Walking into those stores, all I could help thinking was that my grandma would be so happy. Um, she was a person who had on Martha Stewart and other types of crafting and sewing types of TV programs on the TV when I was always there. And she always encouraged me to, follow whatever I wanted to do in the crafting area. She was she had so many crafting hobbies and things that she tried to do, and I think she at some point tried to make it more of a business. She would have been so happy to see, that people still love what she loved, that I still love what she loves, even though I don't always think of myself as the best sewer. But to see that they've evolved and they've continued to, be a thriving community, I know she'd be really happy to see that. So, um, even though sometimes I write myself off and be like, I'm going to do this sewing project and then I'm done with sewing, I was very inspired to continue to sew, even if I'm not as much of an avid sewer as I am a crocheter. I was inspired to maybe take a class or two to, brush up on my skills to see about improving and keep making the spirit of my grandma. It was also really great to see, like I mentioned before, a lot of different fiber arts were represented over at different shops. This included, again, sewing, mending, weaving, and of course, knitting and crochet with yarn. But it was also really great to see, different non-traditional shops out there. I think like when you think of, your local yarn store, you think of a very knit focused store, a store very much focused on high end, very good quality yarn and things like that. Um, but it was really great to see that while there were stores like that that absolutely, had a lot of, knit and crochet based accessories, a lot of knit and crochet based yarns, lots of different shops out there offered a breadth of different things. It was great to see mending mixed in with, different yarns. It was great to see weaving out there at all and to see different size looms from kind of smaller kit size or for smaller lap or table size, little teeny tiny kits. Again, I'll show you in a minute. To get, really started into like a little intro, teeny tiny wall hanging, to huge floor looms that, they offered in classes, they offered, loom time, and to see people even interested in wanting looms. My mom, grandma had a loom, and it's been a point of contention as to what's going to happen to it. And if any of my family is watching, they're gonna maybe call my bluff on this, but I'm inspired to maybe have it if I can find room for it. Um, I've got to make sure it's definitely worth the investment to get it out here. It's all the way out across the state for me. So I got to make sure it's obviously worth the investment for me and something I really want to do. But to see an art that, for the past however many years, 10, 15, 20 years of my life, it's been a point of contention of like, oh, what are we going to do with this thing? People are like, yes, please, I want this thing. I want to enjoy this practice, this item. I cherish it. I love it. Um, which was really great to see. It was also great to see that a lot of the shops were very, accepting of, different types of people in our community. I think the fiber art, the craft community can really be seen as, members being, maybe on the older side, maybe being on the more conservative side. Well, that might be true of some of the people who are a part of the community. There are lots of people who are younger, lots of people who come from different genders, come from different backgrounds, come from different beliefs. And all of those different types of people were accepted at a lot of the different shops. It was great to see, the LGBTQ plus flag represented. It was great to see, people wearing, different gender pronouns on their clothing and their items that they had with them. And that being, not a problem, that being like people who, you might be associating with being an older person and might having a problem with it talking and really enjoying the time that they had with them, and shops of all sorts all over the crawl, really, accepting all sorts of different people, which I was really happy to see. Of course, I've known that, all sorts of different people make up our community, but it was great to see those people being celebrated by our community, being celebrated by the shops represented on the crawl, and that the shops themselves were, owned by people of different backgrounds, including Black owned shop, Asian owned shops, LGBTQ plus owned shops, different types of backgrounds. Really, they all make up our community, and to see all of us represented on all ends of the community was really great to see in action, and I'm really proud of our community. I'm really proud of myself. I was kind of nervous to go only because it was a really big project, and coming out of the winter, it is a hard time of year for me, but I was really glad that I did it. I'm really proud of all of the places I got to see, and being reminded and proven wrong about the fact that there is, a local yarn, a local fiber art community that is local to me, and that they're right here, and I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm really excited to go to stitch nights. I'm really excited to be inspired to sew again, to do different sorts of projects for the yarn that I got projects for the things I feel inspired to make outside of just, crochet. I'm really excited that I'm inspired to keep sewing in my life. I had kind of written it off a little bit, um, but I'm happy. I'm gonna keep, the craft alive inside me, which feels really nice.
Thanks so much for watching part one of my series on the Greater Philly Yarn Crawl 2025. As a reminder, I'll be talking about my yarn acquisitions in the next video, part two. I appreciate you coming along, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!